Good evening, Planeswalkers. My name is Shamar, and welcome to the Commander Corps. Today I have for you a creepy, crawly Golgari library. This library features graveyard recursion and manipulation with endless swarms of insects. Leading our swarm today is Amzu, the Swarm's Hunger, from the Clue edition of Ravnica. For our commander, we have Amzu Swarm's Hunger. This legendary insect costs 3 colorless, 1 green, and 1 black mana for a total of 5. He is a 3/3 with flying and menace, and he also gives other insects menace. It reads, whenever one or more cards would leave your graveyard, you may create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token. Then put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the greatest mana value among these cards. Do this only once each turn. This effect can go pretty crazy, and our trick is trying to make cards leave our graveyard on each turn. Amzu Swarm's Hunger has flying and menace, and within our library are several effects that exile cards from our graveyard. So what is flying? Flying is a keyword that basically puts our commander in the air. Flying is an evasion ability, and a flying creature can only be blocked by another creature with flying or reach. But a creature with flying can block a creature without flying. Also, multiple instances of flying don't add any special layers to our creature. Next, we have Menace. Menace is a keyword that makes it harder for our opponents to block. Menace is another evasion ability. It means that a creature with Menace can only be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Also, multiple instances of Menace don't have any added ability. The effect does not stack. Last but not least, this library features some exile effects. Exile basically removes cards from the game and puts them into another zone known as the exile zone. When in exile, these cards can be seen by our opponents unless it's specifically stated that they are exiled face down. Now that we know what effects our library focuses on, let's get into how to play this library. This library is chock full of insects since our commander boosts them, and it turns out that insects are very resilient. Within the 99, we are going to look for creatures such as Endless Cockroaches, Vorapede, Giant Onceg, and Xanakev Locust. Endless Cockroaches is a great card for this library. For 1 colorless and 2 black mana, these cockroaches read, whenever this creature dies, return it to its owner's hand. They will just keep coming back until someone exiles them. Also, if we happen to have Amzu on the field, we will get a 4/4 insect because these cockroaches cost 3 mana total. Another part of our swarm is the Vorapede. This hulk of an insect is one of the game enders in this library. For 5 mana, 3 colorless and 2 green, this is a vigilant 5/4 insect. Basically, this means he doesn't tap when attacking. Not only that, he also has Undying. Undying reads, when this creature dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. He then becomes a 6/5 with Vigilance. But also, if you happen to have Amzu out again, he also comes with a 6/6 insect token, and of course they both are going to have Menace. Let me tell you that this is just making you a problem, wiping out your opponent's boards left and right. Another heavy hitter is Giant Onceg. This insect costs 6 colorless mana and 2 green mana for a total cost of 8. This is an 8/8 insect with trample, so even when blocked, any unblocked damage will still connect with your target. Not only that, he also gives other creatures you control trample and ward too. This is backbreaking for your opponent's targeted removal. Ward is an additional cost that your opponents must pay when targeting your creature. Now, if your opponents happen to remove the Giant Onceg, that is totally fine. He makes great graveyard fodder. Basically, if you have Amzu on the field and you remove the giant Outtakes from your graveyard, we get a 9/9 insect with menace. Talk about a big boy. Finally, another one of our big insects is Xanakev Locust. This insect costs 5 colorless and a black mana for a flying 3/3. Most importantly, however, this insect has scavenge. When it is in the graveyard, you can pay its scavenge cost of 2 colorless and 2 black mana to exile it, putting 3 +1/+1 counters on a creature of yours, and also you create a 7/7 insect token if Amzu is on the field. This library is just all around Value Town. However, it does take a little bit to set up. So let's take a look at some instants and sorceries that will get us devouring our opponents. Within the 99 of this library, there are plenty of instants and sorceries that help you play with your graveyard. For instance, we are going to look for Cling to Dust, Back for More, and Wind Grace's Judgment. For sorceries, we are going to look for Call of the Death Dweller, Primal Command, and Analyze the Pollen. One of our goals is to remove things from our graveyard, whether they return to our battlefield or get exiled, as long as they leave the graveyard. So focusing on the instance, Cling to Dust is a great 1 black mana instant that allows you to exile a card from a graveyard. If it's a creature card, you gain 3 life, and if it isn't a creature, you draw a card. This instant also allows you to cast it from your graveyard for its escape cost. Its escape cost is 3 colorless mana and 1 black mana. You also have to exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. The greatest part about escape is the fact that you can do this as long as this card remains in your graveyard and you have enough to pay its cost. Again, this is just extremely powerful with Amzu on the board. Of those 5 cards, you're going to have some pretty large mana costs. And of course, we're going to choose the highest one of them to trigger Amzu's ability. This also allows you to do it at instant speed, so if need be, you can create an insect creature token to block an opponent's attack. Along similar lines is Back for More. For 4 colorless mana, 1 black and 1 green, you can return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When you do, it fights another creature. This is great to take out a pesky flyer or large creature an opponent may have. Now fight is similar to combat, except you can choose any target creature to fight regardless of flying or other combat evasive effects. Keep in mind, this is a trade between these creatures, and the creature that fights and survives has their toughness lowered by the damage dealt to it until the end of the turn. This is a great way to knock out a threatening creature of your choice while bringing one of your insects back. Also, if Amzu is on the board, we of course get another insect token. One of the last instants we are going to look for is Wind Grace's Judgment. This spell costs 3 colorless, a black mana, and a green mana for a total cost of 5. But when this is cast, you can choose any of your opponents and decide to destroy a non-land permanent on any one of their boards. Now this may not seem like a very good trade, but the thing is we are aiming to utilize it in the graveyard as well. We can create a 6/6 insect token by removing it with Amzu on the board. Next up, we have some of my favorite parts of this library, the sorceries. Starting the lineup is Call of the Death Dweller. This is a 3 mana sorcery for 2 colorless and 1 black that allows you to return up to 2 creatures with total converted mana cost of 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. This is going to allow you to get maybe one of your small insects back, but if Amzu is out, it also comes back with a 4/4 insect. Following up the Call of the Death Dweller, we have Primal Command. This card is a game saver or a game ender when it's drawn. This spell costs 5 total mana, 3 colorless and 2 green, and allows you to choose 2 of the 4 options on the card. Our options are target player gains 7 life, put target non-creature permanent on top of its owner's library, target player shuffles their graveyard into their library, or search your library for a creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. This is absolutely broken, and your opponents don't want to see it hit the field. Mainly, what we hope to do of those options is to shuffle our graveyard into the library with Amzu on the board, and then search for a creature card or tutor for a card that will help us given our current board state. This combo can go crazy for Amzu, because everything you've done in the game thus far is going to come back again, and your opponents won't be prepared for this. Keep in mind, depending on the state of the game, we may need to gain that 7 life, or we may need to grab one of our artifacts from the graveyard to help us with our mana ramp. Finally, rounding out our sorceries is Analyze the Pollen. This sorcery costs 1 green and reads, as this spell is cast, you may collect Evidence 8. To collect Evidence 8, you exile cards from your graveyard equaling a total of 8 mana cost or more. And then, if you didn't collect evidence, you can find a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. But if you did collect evidence, you can search for either creature or land card to reveal and put into your hand. Once more, we are hoping that Amzu is on the battlefield to get an insect token, and to find one of our big bad insects to close this game up. Now that we have an idea of what's kind of in this deck, what are the secrets to piloting it? Number 1 is to play slow. This is a sleeper build that takes time to assemble, and the insects have really high mana cost, so we want to remain off our opponent's radar. So mana ramp for a few turns, get some small things out, and wait until you can get Amzu out. We have ways to remove our opponent's creature if they start threatening us, but we don't want to show too much of our hand. So, number 2 is to get Amzu out. Amzu is the main puzzle piece of this board. He will ensure that all of our insects remain threats, and we want to make more of them with him. Number 3, don't worry about what goes to your graveyard. This deck lives off things hitting your graveyard, so you can keep throwing your insects in front of your opponents. Don't be afraid to lose your creepy crawlies, because I can assure you they will make another appearance. All in all, this deck is slow to start, but by the time your opponents realize what's happening, you will be overwhelming them with a horde of endless insects. At the time of this video, this library is going for $86.86 with a salt score of 30.61 according to Architect.com. This library is great for new players because the mechanics are simple, and it will help you understand how viable your graveyard and your commander can be. Now, my personal pet card in this deck is Hornet Sting. For 1 green, you can deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Now, this is a fun little instant for flavor that can also remove a tiny pesky creature from our opponent's board. Don't underestimate that 1 point of damage. Now get out there and overrun your opponents. Thank you for stopping into the Commander Core, and remember to stay warm out here. Last but not least, this library power and toughness lowered by the damage dealt until the end of turn. Keep in mind, this is a trade between these creatures. A tap. Now picture this. You have Amzu out, so Giant Oncake has Menace. graveyard. And number 4, this deck has a lot of interaction with it. So, all in all, this deck is slow to start. By the time, all in all, this deck is slow to start.